Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm your family doctor and I'm so glad you're here. Today we are going to talk about something that I know absolutely drives so many of you up the wall, and that is nasal allergies. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Have you ever had this experience, or do you have a family member or a friend you see walking around with a box of tissues practically glued to their hand? You know, the ones they wake up in the morning and before they can even rub the sleep out of their eyes, they're already sneezing like crazy. And that runny nose, it's like a faucet that somebody left on full blast, just dripping, dripping, dripping nonstop. A lot of people deal with the stuffy nose all year round. And at night, they have to sleep with their mouth open just to get any air at all. Honestly, it is miserable. If you're dealing with this or if someone in your household is struggling with it, I really want you to stick with me through this entire episode because we are going to look at this issue from a completely different angle. I'm going to break it down so you finally understand what's really going on under the surface. And more importantly, I'm going to give you a step-by-step roadmap on how to actually turn things around. Let's start by painting a picture. Have you ever had a morning where your alarm clock didn't even get a chance to go off because your nose decided to wake you up first? Not because you were well rested, but because you were hit with sneeze after sneeze 10, 20, maybe even 30 sneezes in a row until you were dizzy and your head was pounding. And then when you finally drag yourself out of bed and get ready to head out, you have to stuff your pockets and your purse with several packs of tissues because you never know when your nose is going to act up again. Then comes nighttime. You lie down, you're exhausted, you just want to sleep, and suddenly your nasal congestion gets 10 times worse. First, your left nostril is blocked, then it switches to the right, then the right switches back to the left, and sometimes just to really make you miserable, both of them clog up at the same time, so you're forced to breathe through your mouth all night long. And the next morning you wake up with a throat so dry and sore it feels like sandpaper, and even eating becomes a chore. You're trying to enjoy your dinner, but you have to keep reaching for a tissue every few bites, and honestly, you can barely taste anything anyway. I know so many of you can relate to this because I hear these exact stories from my patients in my office every single week. Now, here's what usually happens when people go to their regular doctor with these symptoms. They get a label slapped on them, allergic rhinitis, and they're told it's just allergies. But if you stop and think about it, what does that really mean? It seems like anytime the body has some weird symptom and nobody can figure out the exact cause, they just call it an allergy and move on. They blame dust mites in your bedroom, they blame tree pollen, they blame the weather going up and down like a roller coaster, they blame the air quality. Basically, they're saying the problem is everything outside of you. And the implication is that your body is just too weird, too sensitive, too broken. But here's the thing I always tell my patients in the exam room. That idea is actually worth questioning, because if it were purely about the environment, then everybody in the same room, same house, same city, breathing the exact same air should have the same problem, but they don't. Some people are fine and others are sneezing their heads off. So what's the real difference? It's not just the environment, it's what's happening inside your body, your internal state, your terrain, your foundation. Now, in the traditional system of medicine that I've studied alongside my Western training, they don't really have a concept of allergies the way we use that word. Instead, they look at it as a battle between your body's vital energy, what they call your upright energy, and the outside factors that try to invade you, which they call pathogenic factors like wind, cold, dampness, and heat. All those so-called allergy symptoms that you're dealing with, they're really just signs that your body's vital energy, and especially the energy of your lungs, has become weak. It's gotten so depleted that even a tiny little breeze or a slight change in temperature is enough to send your system into chaos. So let me give you an analogy I use with my patients all the time. Think of your immune system as a country's national defense force. If you've got a well-trained, well-equipped, well-fed military, the enemy can try to cross the border all they want. They're not getting in. But if your military is understaffed, underfed, exhausted, and poorly equipped, then the enemy can march right in like it's a Sunday stroll. That's exactly what's happening with chronic nasal issues. Your defense system is just too weak to do its job. I'm sure many of you have heard this saying before, the nose is the window to the lungs. Let me explain what that actually means. Your nose is essentially the front door, the opening, the outward face of your lungs. Now, your lungs are deep inside your chest. You can't see them but through your nose, which is right there on your face. You can actually observe how your lungs are doing. If your lung energy is strong and abundant, your nose is clear, your breathing is smooth and easy, and you can even pick up subtle smells, that tiny hint of vanilla in your coffee, the garlic in your dinner. the fresh cut grass outside, that tells us that your lung energy is flowing freely and your whole respiratory tract is open and healthy. But on the flip side, and this is the part I really want you to pay attention to, if something is off with your lungs, your nose is usually the first part of your body to sound the alarm. It's the window, right? So when outside germs or irritants try to come in, they hit your nose first. And when there's an internal problem, your nose is often the first place it shows up. So your nose is basically a weather station for your lungs. When your nose is acting up, it's a clear signal that something deeper is going on inside. Now, there's another critical function of the lungs that I want you to understand, and it's called defensive energy. That's the energy that patrols the surface of your body 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like a Secret Service detail protecting the president. It's constantly on guard, keeping out wind, cold, dampness, and all those other outside invaders. In a healthy person, this defensive energy is strong, and anytime a bad guy tries to get in, the defense team immediately blocks them and kicks them out. But what about someone with chronic nasal issues? Their defense team is weak, really weak. And why is that? Because their lung energy is deficient, the yang energy inside their lungs. The warmth, the vitality, the fire is running on empty. Their lungs are cold, sluggish, and underpowered. Now, think about it. If your lungs are cold and weak, are they going to produce a strong, powerful defense team? Absolutely not. They're going to produce a tired, exhausted, half-asleep security crew that can barely do their job. So when a little gust of wind or a drop in temperature comes along, that cold air just zips right through your front door into your lungs without any resistance at all. It's like the door was left wide open and nobody was even watching. In the traditional framework, they call this wind cold binding the lungs. Once that cold, windy energy takes over your lungs, the normal functions of your lungs, the rising and spreading and the descending and clearing completely fall apart. Let me break that down so it's crystal clear. The rising and spreading function is like a tree's branches reaching out to the sun. It sends good things, nourishment, energy, warmth, upward and outward to the rest of your body. The descending and clearing function is like a tree's roots going deep into the ground. It sends waste and turbidity downward and out of your body. When these two functions get out of balance, everything goes wrong. The warm energy that's supposed to rise up and warm your nose gets blocked by that cold invader. So your nose is left cold and unsupported. And what happens when it's freezing cold outside? Water turns to ice, right? Well, the same thing happens inside your nose, the normal fluids in your nasal passages, because they're not being warmed by your lung energy, turn into thin, watery, runny mucus that just pours out endlessly. That's why so many people with nasal issues have clear, watery discharge. It's a classic sign of cold. At the same time, because the warm energy can't get up there, the cold settles right into your nasal passages. And cold has a very specific property. It congeals, it blocks. It stops things from flowing. That's why your nose gets stuffed up. It's exactly like a water pipe on a freezing winter day. When the water inside freezes, nothing can get through. And that frozen blockage is hard, stubborn, and extremely uncomfortable. So when you look at it this way, your two main symptoms, watery discharge and nasal congestion, both point to the exact same root cause. There's too much cold in your lungs and not enough warmth, not enough yang energy. This isn't really about what's happening outside your body. It's about a weakness, a deficiency, a coldness inside you. And what about the sneezing? That's actually your body's instinctive attempt to expel that cold, to push it out. But because your internal energy is too weak, you can't fully clear it. So the cold stays, your body keeps trying to get rid of it, and you end up stuck in this vicious cycle that just goes on and on. So here's the bottom line. If you're just using a steroid nasal spray every day, you're only treating the surface. You're not fixing the real problem. Let me put it this way. If your house was on fire, would you just take a wet towel and cover up the smoke detector so it would stop beeping? Of course not. But that's exactly what you're doing when you just suppress the symptoms without addressing what's causing them. You've got to put out the actual fire. You've got to get rid of the internal cold and rebuild your body's warmth and energy. Stop just silencing the alarm, fix the problem. So now let's talk about the real game plan. The real approach to this problem absolutely has to follow 3 distinct steps in a very specific order. These 3 steps are clear, strengthen, and protect. You cannot skip any of them, and you absolutely must do them in the right sequence. This is the real deal, the approach that actually works long term. First, let's talk about step 1, clear when a patient walks into my office. and they're so congested they can barely breathe, they're miserable, they can't sleep, they can't focus at work, they're desperate for relief. And I'm not going to sit there and say, well, we're going to slowly build up your energy over 3 months and then you'll feel better. My patient would probably pass out right there on my exam table. So step one is always to clear the nasal passages first. We need to provide immediate relief. We need to open up that airway so they can breathe, so they can sleep, so they can function. This is what we call treating the surface symptoms first, and it's absolutely critical, not just for their comfort, but also to build trust and confidence so they stick with the rest of the plan. Now, in the traditional herbal system, Thier is a very well-known formula for exactly this job. It's specifically designed to open up the nasal passages and clear out wind and cold. And I love this formula because the ingredients are so clever and so specific in what they do. The main ingredient is this little plant that grows in the wild. If you've ever been hiking or even just walking through a field, you've probably seen it. It's covered in tiny little hooks or barbs. Its whole purpose is to latch on, to burrow in, to penetrate, and that's exactly what it does in your body. It goes deep into those tiny, blocked nasal passages like a little drill, breaking up the congestion and clearing out the cold. And because it's warm in nature, it helps dissolve that icy blockage. Then Thier's another flower bud. This one is in the form of a tight little bud that hasn't opened yet. It's literally waiting to bloom in your body. It does the same thing. It opens things up, it's warm and dispersing, and it forces those nasal passages to widen so air can finally flow through. Next is a really fragrant herb. It smells wonderful and it has a natural tendency to rise upward. It's like it has a built-in GPS system. It specifically targets the area around your nose and your forehead, right where the main channels run. So when you take it, that medicinal energy shoots straight up to your sinuses, chasing out any wind and dampness that might be hanging around there. And if you get that heavy, achy pressure in your forehead, this herb is a lifesaver for that too. Finally, Thier's a small amount of a cool, refreshing herb. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, I thought we were dealing with cold here. Why would we use something cool? That's a great question, and here's the answer. When cold gets trapped in your body for a long time, it can create a sort of trapped heat or stagnant energy. It's like when you leave something in a closed room for too long, it gets stuffy and warm. So your nose might feel swollen, hot, or even painful inside. A tiny bit of this cooling herb helps release that trapped stagnant energy, clears your head, and relieves that dull, stuffy sensation. It's not about cooling you down, it's about balancing things out and making your whole head feel light and clear again. So when you put these four ingredients together, they act like a special forces team. You've got one that drills in, one that opens up, one that charges upward, and one that clears the stagnation together. They go straight into your nasal passages and clear out all that wind, cold, and dampness that's been camping out there. In my experience, patients often notice a huge difference within about half a day to a full day. Their nose opens up, the dripping stops, and they suddenly feel like they can breathe again. They look at me like I'm a miracle worker, and they're finally ready to trust the process. And that's exactly what we want. But this is so important. This is only step one. We've kicked the bad guys out of the house, but the door is still broken, the windows are still cracked, and the security system is still down. So if we stop here, those bad guys are going to walk right back in. That's why step two is absolutely crucial. And this is where the real deep healing happens. Step two, strengthen. This is the most important step, the foundation. The root of the whole treatment. You got invaded in the first place because your defenses were weak, your foundation was crumbling, your internal energy, your yang energy was depleted. Let me put it in terms that are easy to understand. Yang energy is like the sun in your body. When the sun is out, everything grows, everything is warm, everything functions the way it should, but when the sun goes away and everything is cold and frozen, nothing can thrive. Your body is the same way. When your yang energy is low, it's like a permanent winter inside you, cold, sluggish, stagnant, and in the traditional system, Thier's a major formula for exactly this situation. And it's called the Restore the Middle formula. Now, why restore the middle? Because it focuses on your digestive system, your middle, your core. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, wait, my problem is my nose, it's my lungs. Why are we talking about my stomach and digestion? And that's exactly where traditional medicine shines, because it looks at the whole body as one connected system. Thier's a fundamental rule in this system. The earth element, which is your digestive system, is the mother of the metal element, which is your lungs. So your digestive system is like the parent and your lungs are the child. If the mother is strong and healthy and gets good nutrition, the child is going to be strong and healthy too. But if the mother is weak, cold, and malnourished, the child is going to be weak and sickly. It's that simple. So if your digestive energy, your middle energy is cold and depleted, it can't transform the food you eat into the vital nutrients your lungs need. It's like a factory that's shut down. It can't send good supplies up to the lungs. And this is actually a huge deal because your lungs depend on that digestive energy to function properly. If the parent is weak, the child is weak. So to strengthen the lungs, you absolutely have to strengthen the digestive system first. This is what they call nourishing the earth to generate metal. And here's another piece to this puzzle in traditional medicine. There's a saying, the digestive system is the source of phlegm. And the lungs are the storage tank for phlegm, that runny nose, that constant postnasal drip, that phlegm in your throat. Where does it actually come from? It comes from your digestion. If your digestive system isn't working properly, it can't process water and fluids correctly. Those fluids turn into dampness and phlegm in your body, and they have to go somewhere, so they get stored in the lungs, which are the biggest storage tank for that stuff. If you only treat the lungs, you're just cleaning out the warehouse while the factory is still churning out product nonstop. It's never going to end. You have to fix the factory, your digestive system, so it stops producing all that excess waste in the first place. So let me walk you through what's in this Restore the Middle formula, because each ingredient has a very specific and important job. First up is the heavy hitter, the big gun. This is a powerful, hot, intensely yang herb. Its job is basically to bring you back from the dead. It's like a giant sun that comes in and blasts all that frozen cold out of your body, warming you from head to toe. When your body is running on empty and you're freezing from the inside out, this is the ingredient that roars in and lights the fire. Next, we have a warming, drying ingredient that focuses specifically on your digestive system. Think of it as a space heater right in the middle of your belly. It targets the cold that's sitting in your digestive organs, drives it out, and gets that whole area warm and functioning again. So you've got one ingredient warming your whole body and another one focusing on the core. They work together. One fighting the broad war and the other fighting the local battle. It's a perfect team now that we have the heat and the fire. We need people to actually do the work, right? So we add a powerful energy boosting ingredient that's famous for rebuilding your overall vitality. This is what lifts you up, gives you energy, gets you out of that chronic fatigue fog, and helps you feel alive again. Then there's an ingredient that specifically strengthens your digestive function. It's like a contractor coming in to repair a broken machine. It gets your digestive system working properly again so it can actually absorb nutrients from your food. At the same time, it acts like a dehumidifier or a sump pump. It drains away all that excess dampness and fluid that's been building up in your digestive tract, making the whole area dry, comfortable, and functional again. And finally, we add a small amount of a sweet neutral herb that's the peacemaker. It harmonizes all the other ingredients, making sure they work together smoothly without fighting each other. And it also gently supports your energy, making the whole formula more balanced and easier for your body to accept so you don't get any harsh or jarring effects. So here's the beautiful thing about this formula. It doesn't just work on your digestion. It works on your digestive system as the center, and from there it revives your entire body's yang energy. Your digestive system is the foundation of your whole body's energy. When it's warm and functioning properly, you start producing abundant, healthy energy and blood, and that yang energy spreads throughout your entire system. And this is the part that patients absolutely love. When they start on this step, not only does their nasal problem improve dramatically, but their whole body changes. They notice that they're not as cold as they used to be. In the winter, they used to need 3 layers of sweaters just to survive. Now they're comfortable in one. Their hands and feet, which used to be like ice cubes, start getting warm again. They don't need to sleep in socks anymore. Their digestion gets better. No more bloating, no more gurgling, no more loose stools. They actually enjoy food again, and their energy levels come back. They wake up in the morning feeling refreshed instead of exhausted. They just feel more alive, more robust, more human. That's what it means to fix the root cause. Toe lift your whole system up so your defense force becomes a team of elite special forces. Those little outside invaders, they don't stand a chance. They're too scared to even come close. Now we've kicked the bad guys out. We've renovated the house and turned it into a comfortable, warm, wealthy home. Are we done? Not quite, because even though you've fixed the doors and windows and rebuilt the foundation, you still want to add an extra layer of protection, something strong and durable to make sure that even a major storm isn't going to blow your defenses apart again. So step 3, protect. This step is absolutely critical for preventing future relapses. It's the long-term insurance policy on all the progress you've made. If you only strengthen without protecting, it's like filling a bucket with water while there's still a small hole in the bottom. You're adding good stuff, but it's leaking out just as fast. You'll make some progress, but it won't last, and you'll get frustrated. So after all your symptoms have stabilized and you're feeling better, here's a classic time-tested formula that we use to finish the job. And I love the name of this formula. It translates to jade screen. It's like building a beautiful, precious, incredibly strong screen or shield around your body that blocks out all the wind, cold, and outside invaders. Its job is simple: build up your outer defenses, strengthen your surface energy, and regulate your sweating. Now, here's the amazing thing about this formula. It only has 3 ingredients, but the way they work together is absolutely brilliant. Let me explain each one. The main ingredient is a warm, sweet herb that is the absolute master of surface defense. This herb is different from the energy boosting herb we talked about earlier. That earlier herb builds the fortress inside. It's like constructing a strong castle deep in your core. This one, on the other hand, travels to the surface of your body, your skin, and builds the outer wall. It's like putting an invisible but incredibly tough suit of armor around your entire body. It locks down your pores so they close tight when they need to, meaning wind and cold can't sneak in through your skin, but it also lets them open when they should, so you can sweat normally and your body can release heat properly. No more drenching sweats from just walking up a flight of stairs. And no more night sweats that soak through your pajamas. Now, having a suit of armor is great, but what if the soldier wearing that armor is weak, tired, and full of dampness? The armor's not going to help much, and it's going to be uncomfortable for the soldier to move around in. So the second ingredient steps in. This one strengthens your digestion and acts like a dehumidifier. It dries up any lingering dampness inside your body, making sure your internal environment is clean, dry, and efficient. So now your defensive energy is not only strong, it's also nimble, dry, and comfortable. That soldier can move around easily in that armor and fight effectively. And then we have the third ingredient, and its name literally translates to Wind Defender. That's exactly what it does. Its job is to be the patrol guard, the scout, the lookout. The main herb builds the wall. The second herb keeps the wall dry and solid. And this third herb is the guard who walks along the top of that wall looking for any sign of trouble. It actively chases away wind and prevents it from even getting close enough to try to break through. If any wind energy does approach, this herb rushes out to meet it, pushes it away, and drives it off before it ever has a chance to enter your body. So when you look at this combination, it's a perfect 3-part defense system. One ingredient builds the fortress wall and defends the surface. One ingredient reinforces the internal environment, making sure there's no internal weakness or dampness that could undermine your defenses. And the third ingredient actively patrols and fights off any outside invaders. One works on the inside, one works on the outside, one strengthens, one attacks. Together, they create a shield around your body that's practically impregnable. Your body becomes a fortress that's strong, dry, well-maintained, and constantly guarded. Nothing's getting through that. So now let's look back at the whole picture. Isn't this such a clear step-by-step approach? When your nasal issues are flaring up and you're miserable, congested, runny, struggling to breathe, you first use the clear formula to open things up, drive out the bad guys, and give you immediate relief. That's treating the surface then. Because the root cause is a deep internal cold and weakness in your lungs and digestion, you use the strengthened formula to warm up your core, rebuild your foundation, and fix the problem at its source. That's treating the root. And finally, to make sure you don't fall back into the same old pattern, you use the protect formula to build a lasting, durable defense system that keeps outside invaders from coming back. Clear, strengthen, protect, step by step, in the right order, building on each other. It's not random, it's systematic. It addresses the immediate problem, the deep problem, and the prevention problem, all in one complete strategy. That's the power of this approach. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Every single person's body is different. Your constitution, your history, your specific symptoms, your lifestyle, all of these factor into what's going to work best for you. If you have questions or if you have other health issues that you're dealing with, please talk to a qualified practitioner who really understands your full health picture. In traditional medicine, they emphasize something called treatment based on pattern differentiation. That's a fancy way of saying that two people with the exact same nasal symptoms might actually need completely different formulas depending on what else is going on in their bodies. Please do not just go out and grab random herbs and start experimenting on yourself. Always get professional guidance, someone who can take your full history, check your pulse, look at your tongue, and make a truly personalized recommendation. I really hope this breakdown has been helpful for you today. It doesn't take a huge, dramatic overhaul to start turning things around. Just start with the small steps, focus on building a solid foundation, supporting your body's warmth and energy, and protecting yourself from the things that drain you. Your body will thank you, I promise. If you're dealing with any health concerns, please schedule a visit with your primary care doctor. I'm here to help you understand the science, not replace professional medical advice. This is for educational purposes only. Always consult your own doctor before making changes. I'll see you in the next video where we'll tackle another common health puzzle. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon.